And it seems that the implication here...
response to you saying, I don't like Andrew Tate. Have you followed this conversation at all?
No.
What do you mean? Charmhole, you're not coming in. You're seriously, Charmhole, get the fuck out of here. No way.
I think he came off as a sniveling fucking dweeb.
I just disagree that Destiny would be any more effective than XQC has been.
Well, let's talk about your business model. I got him.
Just because I seek advice from somebody on something, though, doesn't mean that they can do a better job than I can at that thing. That's the dumbest shit ever.
No, you're just
If I'm an artist and I'm like, oh, I don't know why my export failed in this way. You can't really talk to these guys. You just have to kind of critique them from afar, and usually that's the best way to do it. Right, I don't disagree.
Okay, what about Paul Walker? What about Paul Walker?
Dude, you are such a soy. You are so horny just to be the
that is literally just empirical shit, dude.
Hello, mate. How's it going?
Good. Pull up the tweet. Let's talk about it.
Okay, mate. No problem. Did you hear what I said earlier about it?
I didn't. No, you want to tell me?
Yeah, sure. I said that you were simping for Destiny. That was the first point. And then I said what it comes across to me as is, especially the secretary here, I think the average person who had never heard of either of them would probably find Tate more compelling and convincing. I'm sure there's a lot of retarded people that would believe that, essentially is what I said. But I don't think that we should base our analysis on the lowest common denominator. But anyway, what do you think?
Okay, well, I could just as easily say that your analysis of the situation is driven by your hatred of Andrew Tate and you're looking for a hero, and Hasan is somebody who stepped up and made points that you agree with. But my analysis is built out of how I think the average person, or even
wait, no, hang on, no, mate, you're not going to get away with that. What are your thoughts on Hasan? Do you like Hasan?
I personally don't like Hasan, but I don't like Andrew Tate either. And
well,
I'll tell
same
you
this, same here. I'm in the same position as you, so don't fucking throw that shit at me of oh, well, you just don't like Andrew Tate. I don't like either of them just the same as you, okay?
What was the other half of that?
What do you mean?
The other half of that was that you think Andrew Tate is wrong and that you agree with Hasan and you're looking for a hero. No, listen, I don't actually believe this. I'm saying that leading with that as part of your analysis, saying that I'm just simping for Destiny and I don't like Hasan, I can equally just try to psychoanalyze and make a claim as well. And I'd rather have a discussion about the substance.
Wait. No. I'm not saying that you're simping for Destiny because you hate Hasan, okay? Yes, It's shorthand and it's hyperbolic. What I'm saying to you is the way that this tweet is worded is fucking, Andrew Tate is some fucking Giga Chad, super brain, and only Destiny can possibly take him on. I think that's fucking bullshit.
Okay, we started this conversation with you saying the tweet looks like I'm simping for Destiny, and then you asked me how I feel about Hasan, and it seems that the implication here...
response to you saying, I don't like Andrew Tate. Have you followed this conversation at all?
No.
What do you mean?
No, you started with the Hasan thing, and then I decided to just say okay, I could psychoanalyze you and come up with a. Yeah,
I thought
it's not important. The point is, I don't want to start this with this is how you feel about this person. This is why you had this take. I would rather compare our analyses and discuss the substance of this.
Okay,
that's the whole point.
Let's compare notes then. Go on.
All right, sure. So I think Andrew Tate is playing for a market, right? There's a specific group of people that Andrew Tate is playing for. And I think that group is pretty sizable. It's young men that are disillusioned by things that they're being told by institutions. Being opposed to institutions is by and large a pretty popular idea right now. And so his whole package, I think when Andrew Tate, when you compare okay, let me ask you this actually. I think this is a better shortcut. If you replaced Hasan with President Sunday and then had all of Andrew Tate's interactions be the exact same, would you still come out of that saying, wow, President Sunday was a Giga Chad and Andrew Tate ran away like a little girl and just cowered away?
I mean, I think that's a very reductive perspective on what my take actually is. That's not really my take in its totality. That's one element of what I'm talking about. So I don't know where you're getting that from.
Oh, okay. Maybe I read that wrong. I thought the idea was that I actually did hear you cover this part. I heard you cover this part and say that Andrew Tate was just running away. And when he called him boring, it's because he had gotten blown the fuck out and he was just running away. I mean, if I misheard, you can tell me.
Well, I don't know if it's that you misheard. I think it's just that you're interpreting that one take as the totality of what I'm looking at here. you know, and the way you're putting it, it seems like that's the only take I had on this. Oh, look how blown out he is, and now he's running away. It's part of a broader analysis of the conversation, which includes the fact that at the start he seemed perfectly willing to engage with him, but then when Hasan said about the, you know, curvature of the Earth shit, at that point, it was a point that to me it seemed pretty clear that he was kind of like uncomfortable with the fact that he, you know, essentially been shown to be a bit stupid on that point. And that's when he really pivoted to, you're boring, I don't want to talk to you anymore, etc., etc. Up until then, he seemed perfectly happy to engage with him, even when he was doing the fucking stats shit, which he thought was bad or whatever, and later on used it and said, what a nerd arguing about stats. He was perfectly happy to engage all the way up until he made the point about the globe thing.
So I interpret the globe thing differently than everybody else. It seems that everybody else thinks that Andrew Tate was being 100% serious by saying I went up into space and saw that the Earth was round. To me, that looked like him being dismissive. It looked like his frustration or his irritation with Hasan, or like, you know, how much that he was being just frustrated with Hasan circling around, or, you know, he said that he was being boring. I think that was just mounting, and that was him just like sort of being dismissive. We never actually got an answer for why Andrew Tate's personal experience led to him believing that the Earth was round. He could have said anything, because I've flown around the world or something like that, right? Like, his answer may not have been satisfactory to you or me, but I just don't think we actually got his answer there. And I don't think that moment is the moment that everybody is saying it is. And at that point...
Well, why didn't he say? Why didn't he state out? Well, you know, because he could have made him look stupid, couldn't he? Because obviously Hasan was trying to mock him, and he could have given a good answer. I mean,
he said, because he was looping around and he was like bored of the guy, and then he was making the same point 5 times.
Right, okay.
You can tell me. When I watched that conversation, I was trying to watch it through the eyes. I had heard that Andrew Tate that Hasan had done a good job. And I saw people that I respect in DGG saying that, and on Twitter saying that. And I was here for Hasan to do a good job, because I don't like Andrew Tate. I don't like what he stands for, and I don't think his ideas are good. And I want somebody to defeat him. I was like ready to praise Hasan for this. I just don't think he did a good job, because I think he came on, he looked like a smug, irritating nerd, and he was bloviating, and like, I don't know. I'll say this. I've seen you lose your cool on like people that have come in to talk to you before. You've called them nerds and you've called them boring, and I think it's served you. And I think it's a big part of the reason people watch you. Even if you weren't engaging or were happy to engage up until a point, until you lose your patience because somebody's trying to go in through the same door over and over again. Like, I've seen that before, because don't talk to me like a little fucking nerd, okay, Professor Nerd? Like, I've seen that stuff, and I think it works for you. And I think that for the average person, this stuff is more resonating, especially when somebody comes in and they pontificate. And the way Hasan, his cadence says, when you do your thing, it is not...
I'm sorry, this is about me is pure... I just completely disagree with you, because there was that panel that I did, which was like hippy dippy, and I just memed it up and was calling them nerds the whole time. I got an enormous amount of backlash and Okay, no, but hang on a sec. I'm just explaining to you. When I've done that, and I've done you're a nerd and just memed and stuff, right? I've received like backlash, and people have criticized me, and they've seen me as like losing the conversation or whatever. You know, even people that like me. So I mean, I don't know if I agree that like maybe sometimes it might work, but like if you're talking about like data, or you're talking about, you know, what you can prove with a study or something like that, I think it's a kind of different context.
Yes, you and I agree with the substance of this point. You and I agree with this. Okay, I agree with what Hasan was saying by and large. I just don't think the way that he said it would have been effective for anybody that didn't know who either of the two were, but especially nobody in Tate's audience, or anybody that would even be susceptible to Tate's audience. It just looked like everybody playing to their own crowd. And like, yes, it's true. We are in this space. We're already sort of tailored to interpret that anytime anybody doesn't engage rigorously with an argument, that they're going to lose. Anytime anybody looks upset or gets frustrated, that they're going to lose. But I don't think that's true for people outside of this like niche debate space.
I guess the issue with that is that I feel like then we get to the point where it seems like you're saying we do need to, get to the lowest common denominator, and we don't want to talk about like facts and data, even if we know we're correct, because it might look bad to the retards. And I just think that's what it seems like to me.
Well, there is a certain measure of that. There is a certain measure of like we kind of have to cull some academic speech or something like that, or we have to build to a point where we can talk about
what academic speech did Hasan use?
I mean, he tried to speak. I think Hasan's whole problem is that he tries to speak academically, and it like has him coming off as slow and monotonous and long-winded. And like, dude, the chick literally fucking left, And if you're like worried about Andrew Tate spreading his influence, like anybody that's susceptible to Andrew Tate's whole shtick, right, is going to be worried about that moment. How do I get girls, right? How do I be an alpha chat? How do I get girls? They're going to look at that moment, see Hasan fucking bloviating and pontificating, see that the chick gets up and leaves, and that's going to be their takeaway.
I mean, maybe. I mean, I didn't see the girl leaving. I mean, what was that like a big part of it? Do you think, this girl leaving?
Yeah, they even remarked on it when it happened. They were like, "This guy's so boring. Look, that fucking she got up and left."
Why did she leave though? What, I didn't even notice.
Who knows? Who knows? She could have gone to the bathroom. She might have had to pee really bad for all we know. That's one example, though. That's one example of like the sort of temperature of how the average person, like how an average young man or something like that, is going to interpret that interaction.
Right. Okay. I mean,
listen, if somebody comes into a conversation and is like I think somebody can be an irritating dork and be correct, right? And Hasan coming into that conversation, maybe nobody knew who he was. Nobody had been like introduced or initiated to Hasan's content or political content at all. Maybe nobody's even fucking thought about politics that's watching that shit. They're a bunch of like average young men or something like that. And he comes in and he just starts saying, you have to look at the data. He doesn't perform any data, or he doesn't like actually he doesn't offer any data or anything like that. He's just like making appeals for how Andrew and his life experiences and everything that he's observed in his life like is wrong. And I don't think he did a very good job of delivering that succinctly and concisely. If you look at the way Andrew Tate talked, if he took his time to just lay out his entire life philosophies, there was no looping or anything. Everything was like fucking delivered in an airtight package. I mean, whatever. There's plenty of flaws that you could have poked holes in or whatever. But I just think he would have been more compelling rhetorically. The things that he said were probably more resonating to people that are in the fucking like target group that he's aiming for. And I don't think Hasan did much to deflate that.
I just think that, obviously, I think we probably completely agree that when he came in and he did the capitalism thing, that was cringe and he shouldn't have done that. And I think he, likely like lost people there somewhat, right? I think talking about the insurance statistics was fairly reasonable, and I think that that's something that most people are going to have an awareness of. It's a very common talking point that women have got lower insurance rates than men, and it's true as well. It's true that one of the reasons that women have lower insurance rates is they tend to take less risks and be more conservative drivers. Other reasons too, but that is a pretty strong indication that, at least in day-to-day driving, women are better drivers. It depends how you define better, but I would argue that lower accident rates, being involved in less accidents, etc., that is the kind of stuff that you would look at in terms of who's better and who's a worse driver. When it got to the like astronaut shit, I think we've just got a totally different interpretation of that. I think that Tate realized in real time that he didn't really have like a substantive reason in his head to go on as to why the Earth isn't flat. And that's why he kind of coped with that argument of, going up into space. And then I think, I found the poking at the Tate University shit just funny and kind of a good meme. But yeah, sure. That's my basic interpretation of kind of what happened. And I think that he got annoyed and he wanted to get rid of him when he felt like he was being made to look a bit foolish. That's the way that I see it. So
yeah. I don't think that happened. Like that whole space astronaut thing, it looks like Tate was giving an answer that was like sarcastic and meant to be dismissive. And again, like about the insurance thing, yeah, that could be a really, really good talking point if they had agreed on what the implications of like being a better driver was. But I
agree with that. I completely agree with that. And that was the problem in the other conversation is like, what is better? Because yeah, sure, there's probably examples you could point to where, like, say, at the top level of racing, there's probably things that men have, like, I don't know, reaction times or something, I don't fucking know, that might make them more effective at, like, high speed, driving in, like, a circuit or something. But then when you take that across to, like, real life, then generally, yeah, you're not going to...
They didn't even have that conversation. It doesn't even matter if you or I have that conversation. They didn't have it, right?
I know. But the point I'm making is I agree with you that, yeah, that could have been, like, more solidly done. And out of everything, yeah, that was probably, apart from the capitalism comment, that was probably, like, the weakest point. But I don't know. I thought it was a pretty reasonable. And I don't know. I feel like we've got a totally different position on the astronaut thing. It feels like he was...
We should watch it again because I'm going to prime you to watch it a certain way because I think we've already been primed to watch it a certain way based on like how we interpret things in this debate sphere, okay? And the way I want you to expect to see it is that he's going to answer it sarcastically and be like, oh, yeah, it's because I went to fucking space. Yeah, yeah, I know the Earth is round because my personal experience extends to me, going to space. Now, we didn't get an answer for how his personal experience related to him knowing the Earth was round, but it seems like at that point he was just like, I'm done with this guy. I'm done with his shitty little jabs. I'm done with him like needling at me and making these fucking side-handed comments and like being really not entertaining.
Yeah, sure, but like
we could just watch it.
But okay, we'll watch it. I just think I find it hard to believe that the person that is saying, "Oh, you're boring and I want you to leave," is coming out on top optically of that because you're the one that looks weak. Even if someone, because the thing is, Hasan isn't like, yeah, he's being a bit of a dick and he's kind of needling him a bit, but he's not like being super rude to him. Like he's pretty chill. He's kind of.
I think he was.
What, you think he's been super rude to him? Like what?
I think he was like laughing and like making sarcastic, smug comments and then doing his little laugh. Oh, you probably have some CTE though. Like, yeah, I think he came off as a sniveling fucking dweeb to like anybody that wasn't initiated with the two.
Okay. Well, let's watch this again. Do you want to control it so you can pause at the appropriate time? You be in control, okay? You be the alpha.
Sounds good. I had a lot of criticisms for how XQC handled Tate the second time, too, last night, and I like XQC, so I don't know. I'm ready to give people praise when I think they do things really well.
Yeah, sure. I mean, listen, you know...
Listen, nobody is more cognizant of the fact that, like, when I give criticisms to people, the person that suffers is me, and, like, my potential for relationships and shit.
Sure. Also, listen, obviously, you know, it was an off-the-cuff comment. When I say you're simping for Destiny, I'm not saying that you are simping for Destiny in terms of like, you know, oh, we'd have done better than Hasan. It's just the way this tweet is framed. It's almost like, you know, you know, Andrew Tate, there's only one man that can take him down, and it's Destiny. And I just don't think that's true. I think that's
on the profile. On the profile of somebody like Hasan, I think that, like, listen, it's not built out of, like, that comment had less to do with Hasan's, you know, experience and more to do with the fact that I was just seeing Andrew Tate surrounded by all these big people, Adin Ross, like Pollos Locos or whatever. You know,
Adin
XQC.
Ross was sucking him off. He wasn't challenging him. He was agreeing with him. He's an idiot.
Exactly. Yes, he's surrounded by all these dick riders, right? Like it's just Andrew Tate coming on to Twitch and like surrounding himself with the biggest audiences. So the largest collections of people are all just sort of swarming around this Andrew Tate guy, and he gets to just say his shit. And the closest shot anybody's been able to take to sort of try to undo or unravel Andrew Tate's narrative is Hasan, and I don't think he did a great job at that. But like, I'm just thinking about, of all the big name people on Twitch, like who the fuck that are flocking around Andrew Tate and bringing all their audiences with them, like who can do a good job at like reaching the people that Andrew Tate is spilling poison in the ears of, and like help them understand where Andrew Tate might be wrong. Who's prepared for that? There was one guy on Twitch that does this really well. I truly believe this. I don't think this is even controversial.
The thing is, obviously, look, you know, I'm a hardcore Destiny stan and an Orbiter, as everyone knows. So, you know, I looked at Destiny as someone that, yeah, it's because, you know, his experience as well. You know, he's done a lot of these kind of debates. He would absolutely, you know, be able to have a really solid conversation with him.
You would too, but you're not at that profile, so I'm excluding people that are outside of that sort of like.
Listen, mate. Oh my
God,
you're flattering me. I appreciate it. I don't agree with you, but you're flattering me anyway. But yeah, I don't know. I see where you're coming from. But I think that because the way this is, it kind of looks, I don't know. Like you mentioned Adin Ross, I feel like, well, yeah, Adin Ross is like a yes man. Like Tate is surrounding himself with yes men. And yeah, there probably isn't that many people that are going to be able to really substantively change it. But that's because the culture on Twitch, you know, especially at the top end, probably leans at the very least slightly towards the red pill shit anyway. You know, I mean, if you look at even like Trainwreck was trying to be somewhat reasonable. But I would argue that he was kind of siding more with Tate. Not because of the quality of the arguments or anything like that, but just because that's the kind of person Trainwreck is. I mean, the fucking Squad W shit is fucking from him, right? So the culture on Twitch is very much that. And yeah, the reason it's difficult is not, you know, because Destiny got banned. I mean, Destiny's one person that could have done it. But the culture on Twitch just leans that way anyway. So Destiny is kind of an anomaly. And going back into history as well, you know, he's spoken about how when he first started debating, it was way worse than it is now. But even to this day, there's definitely like a red pill bent. So it just generally broadly is difficult to find people that, you know. Anyway.
In my tweet, I say we don't have a single big streamer to contend with him because they banned Destiny. Like, what's wrong with, like, how is that contentious? Tell me who the other big streamer is that can, like, try to sort of unroot some of Andrew Tate's arguments in a compelling way.
Sorry, mate, I got distracted. What did you say?
Okay, well, I'm like, it seems to be centered around this tweet and the substance of this tweet. And I say, we don't have a single big streamer to contend with them because they banned Destiny. Tell me who the big streamer is other than Destiny that you think could contend with Andrew Tate in a compelling way.
Well, I mean, I think we just disagree. I think Hasan did a fairly reasonable job of contending with them.
People who already agree with Hasan or that are already primed to want to uphold the sort of rules that we have in this niche sort of Twitch debate space that was set up by Destiny in the first place.
So, but then I come back to my point. It feels like you're just saying we've got to go to fucking standpoint epistemology for fucking dude bros, essentially. Oh, well, you know. Well, I guess the question I'd ask you is, how would you have dealt with it differently? What would you have done, say?
So I did like a whole analysis. There's a bunch of different things I would have done, right? Like there are a lot of different scenarios. It seems like Andrew Tate is a guy who really values and speaks to people who value personal experiences. I wouldn't immediately go out and start going to the abstract and like, you know, doing standpoint epistemology or something like that. I would start asking, you know, like Andrew Tate, when he starts talking about how all the women that he's driven with have been in accidents or something, I would start asking him about the women that he's been, whatever. I would start like tailoring that to his personal experience and then start relating that to like, well, you know, maybe there's a bunch of other women that you're not interacting with. It's not part of your life or what you're doing or whatever the fuck. And so you can see how your experience can sort of like poison the way that you're interpreting the likelihood of a woman, you know, this, that, or the other, something like that. There are ways that I would go about it, like, but it also wouldn't be like sitting there and making a bunch of smug remarks and like acting like I was already doing victory laps when I was 1 or 2 sentences into the conversation. I don't know if you caught that, but the moment Hasan entered the conversation, he already was acting, he was treating like Andrew Tate like an idiot and like he had already won. And I just don't think that would be compelling.
Like I guess you know, another reason that I would kind of reject this, just think about it too, is like you're saying that only people, you know, that sort of would side with them already. How can you justify that when you've got people who literally fucking hate Hasan, people within Destiny's community that have literally just spent the past 24 hours shitting on him for saying a racial slur and by accident, are now saying, oh, he did quite well in this debate, da da da. So I don't agree with you that it's only people that would or you know, would side with Hasan. There's a bunch of people that would never side with Hasan, like most of the time on most of his takes, and probably the last 10 takes he's had that have been extremely critical of. But this time they're going, oh well, I think he did quite a good job here. Like, how do you explain that?
Sure, I've got a couple explanations for that. I've touched on a couple of them already. Number one, we already want to uphold these rules of you never run from the debate. You must engage rigorously, and any departure from that means you lost. That's how we interpret things. I don't think that's necessarily how the average person interprets those things. Number two, I think I understand that I'm actually would be in disagreement with Destiny about this. Like, apparently Destiny watched it and he had some praise for Hasan, said that Hasan like made some good points, but I think Destiny might be interpreting it from the same lens. So, like, all the people in Destiny's audience saying Hasan was doing a good thing, we might be able to just chalk that up to they're just listening to their streamer and like understanding it from their streamer's perspective.
I mean, I don't. Okay. I mean, I don't know when Destiny spoke about this. Exactly.
I could be wrong. I might have read this wrong. That's my understanding that apparently Destiny had like good things to say about it or something.
Well, I think Destiny did. I don't know what the timeline is. But like, I feel. I mean, I could be wrong on this. I don't know when Destiny spoke about it. I don't have. You know. Okay. I'm not, abridged of all of his fucking doings, but I think there was people talking positively about it before Destiny even.
This was my belief going into it as well. Listen, this is truly. I understand what it looks like. Like, I know, right? Like, I know that people expect me to be critical of Hasan because like they think that that's my brand or something like that. I'm ready to give Hasan praise. I did so when he raised the strike funds. I did so when he like donated money to like Ukrainian relief or whatever out of his own pockets. I'm not just primed to fucking criticize Hasan. In a way, I am. I do have some expectations just based on like the consistency of the arguments that he makes. I wanted this to be a win for Hasan. I wanted like, Tate to suffer a loss or something. That's just not how I read this. And I feel like I've explained pretty thoroughly why. It seems to hinge that our biggest disagreement is like that going to space moment and like Andrew Tate's motivations for wanting to end the conversation. I don't know if there's anything else to say.
Well, did you want to watch it again and you can
we can
it and point it out to me?
Are you gonna what? Just do it on your stream or what?
Well, no, I thought you could share your stream so you can be in control. You can be the alpha.
Sure. Yeah, I can.
Because seemingly you're now Tate-tard, so I thought you could be the alpha male.
Let's see. Give it a shot.
I would apologize for being heated at the start of the conversation, but it was kind of funny, so I'm not going to.
Yeah, well, if you were heated, that means you automatically lost, so I'll just take that victory, right?
Sorry, are you being serious right now? Obviously, I've never said that being heated isn't in itself a sign that you've lost. I think being heated and desperately trying to get the person to leave and going to your chat and going, no one likes you anyway. Yeah, that's, not that you've lost, but it's a pretty bad sign. I mean, I don't know, the normie position on the debate bro shit. Maybe normies wouldn't like the idea that you argue from a position of, hey, what does the data say? I'm sure there's lots of people that would agree with Andrew Tate.
Arguing from that position is great if you can argue it well, but that's where the value of rhetoric comes in, right? Like, again, I agree with Hasan's overall point even, right? Like, I agree with his overall point. I think it was a bad showing for him, and I don't think it achieved any objective that we would hope it would achieve.
Oh, Rhyzom's got an opinion as well.
Bring him in.
Okay.
Oh, wait. Let's just go in your Discord server then.
Okay, yeah. Oh, we've got a few people waiting. Oh. Hello? Charmhole, you're not coming in. You're seriously, Charmhole, get the fuck out of here. No way. Absolutely not. Hello. Right, I've just brought everyone in because, more the merrier, okay?
Yeah, glad you didn't bring Charmhole in.
Listen, this is actually good content, so
What's
I don't want to fuck it up. Sorry, go on, Rhyzohm. What have you got to say?
No, I mean, I kind of disagree with Supreme. I disagree with you a little bit, Chud.
So you're going to both sides it. I see how it is.
I guess I'm no sides in it over here. Giga Chad, right?
Okay.
But yeah, I think the conversation here is Chud is for the reasonability of Hasan's arguments, and Wicked, you're arguing against the effectiveness of them.
Yeah.
So I feel like you're comparing apples and oranges. And I feel like the audience you're concerned about, Supreme, is Tate fans, right? Like, you are knowing.
Can we call them Tate-tards, please? Can we call them their proper name?
Sure, Tate-tards. You're concerned about the Tate-tards, right? So,
or undecided people that are susceptible to Tate's package, right?
Right.
His product.
Right. And you're hoping that someone who comes and argues Tate can play to that bias and make Tate look tarded. Right.
Well, not necessarily look tarded, but entertain enough doubt that people aren't going to fucking scoop up and eat everything Tate says with a spoon, or you know what I mean? That's the biggest.
Yeah. So I think I agree with you in the sense that Hasan was doing an argument that normies and who are on the fence maybe, but less so towards Tate's side, and people who are already maybe in the debate bro sphere, he was doing arguments that they would appreciate, but he wasn't doing things that appeal to that audience.
Exactly.
And they wouldn't walk Tate, people who are Tate-tards away from that position, right? So I agree with you there. I just disagree that Destiny would be any more effective than XQC has been. I think XQC's already been perfectly adequate at showing how stupid these arguments are. So I do think you are simping.
No, I don't think so at all. When Andrew Tate starts talking about the whole push for green energy is just a push for us to be taxed more, or for to keep women working so that the government can collect more tax so they can buy farmland so that they can control us through food and shit like that. I'm sorry. I don't think XQC has the answers for that.
No, but XQC has the ability. All XQC needs to do, based on your argument, is make Tate look stupid. And he has done that, and he has the ability to do that. He doesn't have to make him look stupid on every single point and get him in the marketplace of ideas and totally own all his arguments. He can just make him look stupid. People go, this guy looks pretty fucking dumb. I'm not going to watch him. Those are the people who are on the fence.
Stupid?
Does XQC? I do believe he does.
Maybe to us.
Yeah, to Aiden Ross's audience too. He divided Aiden Ross's audience. Come on, you can't just say it was just to us. The reason that went viral wasn't because people massively disagreed with XQC. They thought there was a good split in people who were on both sides of that.
But who are the people we're going after, right? So I think the people we're trying to get to are the people that think we can't trust data. And I don't think that Hasan at all addressed that, because he just kept looping as they were saying.
No, I disagree. I think the people we're trying to reach are the people who are about to buy into Tate's MLM scheme.
But those are the people that say they can't trust data, right? That's his whole thing, is just go with your experience.
That's not his whole thing. It's part of his whole thing is to appeal to their bias, but that's part of his whole thing.
His whole thing is my personal experience has led me to the success that I have. If you want what I have, you simply need to follow my advice and listen to the experiences that I've had and the analysis that I come out of it. Don't worry about what the internet studies say, because that doesn't reflect on me at all. That's Tate's whole, that's his whole product.
Yeah, and it's why he specifically referenced COVID, right? It was reminding people we can't trust data. Look at this guy, he trusts data.
Yeah. So what are you saying, sourcing support? You think Destiny would be the guy?
I don't know if Destiny would be the guy or not, but did anyone listen to his debrief with XQC? He did talk about this, that you really need to sit down and try to understand the perspective and really like go through, all right, talk to me about your personal experience, and then talk to him about other people's personal experience that aren't millionaires and how that would play out for them.
To Chud Nation.
Okay, so how do you demonstrate to somebody who's epistemologically bankrupt on that level that like they don't have the ability to assess reality from their own experiences?
Well, no, he only has the ability to assess reality from his own experience, but then his audience can assess reality from their personal experience, and they're not all millionaires, right? So you can walk through the process. Okay, great. What would this scenario play out like for someone that's not a millionaire? You have to meet them where they're at, right? And if you want to win those people over anyway.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you at all. But yeah, that was my basic point. I think, Supreme, you might be doing a little bit of simping here. I think, Chud, you weren't really addressing Supreme's points. You were just more talking about how reasonable.
Yeah, that's because they're fucking stupid.
Listen, motherfucker. Yeah, I think there are other ways that Destiny can reach people that are susceptible to Tate's shit, and it's because he's actually like clever and funny. And if you want to, if you don't think that this is true, and you think that I'm just simping, if you think Hasan was funny, like, to somebody who is undecided and had never heard of either of these two people before, Hasan came in, was really long-winded, slow, clumsy, awkward, talking through his analysis. He just made a bunch of like rude side-handed comments. Nothing he said was really funny. He giggled like a little girl. Like, yeah, Destiny can say things that are like edgy or funny, or he can like make jokes that sort of laugh with his adversary and sort of like get them on board that way. Yeah, I think even this stuff would be effective, even if Destiny used all the same arguments Hasan used. Like,
all right, all I gotta say to that, Supreme. All I gotta say to that, Supreme, is Dick Rider.
Do you believe that?
Yeah, no, I think that you have a bias, man, for sure.
Well, I guess there's some humor that I'm just really not seeing in the way that Hasan like approached that conversation.
Okay,
no, you're correct about Hasan. No, wait, whoa. You're correct about how Hasan came across. You're not correct that Destiny is the remedy. That's your dick riding.
I'm not saying Destiny's the remedy. I think I'm just saying
Destiny would be much more effective.
Capable.
Equals.
Yeah.
Okay, but then you're saying to Chud, well, name somebody else.
Yeah.
So you are saying Destiny is the answer, or you're putting Chud into a corner where he's got to say.
Can
Destiny
you name somebody else?
I just did. XQC, bitch.
Yeah, I just don't think that's correct. I don't think you're right about that. I think
a whole month's worth of clips and people talking about it on YouTube, or not a month. I guess it's been like 2 weeks or whatever.
Okay, how do you separate? How do you separate the people who already came into that like with a bias towards XQC, or with like already would interpret a conversation between the two with the sort of rules that we have laid out on Twitch and the way the debates work on Twitch? How do you know if the testimony you're seeing isn't already from people that were primed to already feel the way that they did?
Wait, what testimony do you assume that I'm seeing? My argument is more content has been spawned off of this, and conversation has been sparked off of this, and because of XQC and the points that he's made, because he was able to go into a conversation with Tate and not just take an L right on the face. So my argument is hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people have seen this conversation due to that interaction and are making their assessment, and XQC in those interactions did make Tate look bad, even to normies, because if you watch XQC's streams, you're a normie. You think that these are debate bro people, so I just think that you got to acknowledge that.
No, I think XQC's audience is built out of people that grew up watching Trainwreck's podcast, which, you know, Destiny was on, and the sort of culture of debate that we have is built out of like shows that XQC has been on over the past 5 years. It's not like, I'm sure he's captured new audiences since then, but like,
wait, whoa, what Trainwreck's podcast was XQC on?
He was on Scuff podcasts, like a bunch of like over the
with
past
Destiny doing debates.
Yeah.
Okay, this might be lore I'm unaware of. So you believe that though his audience has retained such a huge portion of that when he's like at the peak of his popularity, pulling in like 80K viewers, that there's like still a really substantial foundation of those people around, enough to sway the opinion of the audience towards debate lord?
I'm saying we have a culture of how we interpret these conversations on Twitch that is built out of like the big ticket podcasts and debates that we've had on this platform over the last 5 years.
And you think normies who have jumped onto the platform and watch XQC since 2020 like engage in that shit?
I think there can be a mix in XQC's audience. I think there can be like normies that were grown up.
How many people of the 80K that watch XQC on average, like what percentage do you think are just normies who basically don't watch anything else and would never actually watch like a Scuff podcast?
I have no idea. And listen, the idea that somebody can, I mean, even if they weren't grown up with that culture, I mean, they're going to be mixed in with those signals. But just by virtue of the fact that they're watching XQC and they've already sort of consigned themselves to like watching this streamer fucking 10 hours a day, they probably already like him and are going to be primed to agree and want him to win. Right.
All right. Well, while you
say,
might disagree with me, I put forward a champion. Okay. But that was what you were asking for. And you think it's Destiny.
I think there are plenty of moments in XQC's conversation with Andrew Tate where XQC said things that made XQC look dumb.
That's great, but we have an example where he's already kind of doing it. He's got a giant audience. Maybe Destiny could do it. I don't think that the way that Destiny argues would have gotten hundreds and hundreds of thousands of views in the same way that XQC going on Aiden Ross's stream with Tate would have garnered 100,000 views, and like all of the offshoots of that, like all of the conversations that have like sprung from that. I think there's way less influence there. I think Destiny would be closer to the Hasan interaction, and you're just big simping. That's just my conclusion, man. It's subjective.
Yeah, I think Destiny would probably try to wield some of the same arguments Hasan did, but he would probably have a route for going there, and he would also be more entertaining. It seems to be that Andrew Tate's biggest issue with Hasan was that he wasn't entertaining. And if you watch that situation through the eyes of somebody who doesn't know who either of these people are, isn't engaged in politics or something like that, Hasan was not entertaining. He was long-winded. He was monotonous.
I can see that, but that doesn't mean that I think Destiny would just be better than XQC at being entertaining. Like
he would be better than XQC at having substance for like a lot of the arguments Andrew Tate puts forward, like the conspiracy theories and shit like that. XQC is just not equipped to deal with that at all. XQC can
right, but just because I concede that Hasan didn't do well necessarily in the eyes of the Tate tards doesn't mean that I then think Destiny would be a good candidate to go up against him.
What do you mean?
I don't have to conclude on that. You seem to keep tying the two together where it's just like, okay, well, Hasan took an L, therefore Destiny W. I just don't think that's the case.
Where am I saying that?
Comes in. Basically, when you make a point, you tie the two together, and then you say that, like, clearly Destiny would be better.
Look at my tweet. Tell me where I'm saying that.
The tweet?
Yeah.
I'm just talking about what I've heard in the conversation, man.
Okay. It has nothing to do with I don't think Destiny has taken a W anywhere in here because he hasn't had a chance to, like, talk to Andrew Tate.
Destiny would have a W, not like a W in potentia is what you're picturing.
I predict that Destiny would do a better job at like being more convincing to people that would be susceptible to Tate's like whole message.
Right. Okay. That's the subjective bit, and I just disagree. I think XQC would be a good candidate if you're looking for a replacement. It seems like he's already done a good job of that and of getting hundreds of thousands of people on.
You think XQC would be competent at like at countering the narratives about like the COVID vaccine and fucking like the climate emergency being a hoax to like fucking
And Destiny, no, I wouldn't. Does that mean that I don't think he could do a good job at making Tate look stupid? No.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the stakes are a lot higher than simply like, I don't know.
Dude, to normies, you can just use logical fallacies and make Tate look stupid, and then boom.
No,
like
I don't think normies give a fuck about logical fallacies.
That's what I mean. That's what I'm saying. You can just make bad arguments. Like, you can just make optical arguments, rhetorical arguments that sound good. XQC is capable of doing that and pulling people away from Andrew Tate.
Why do you think it is that XQC spent 2.5 hours doing a debrief with Destiny and was seeking Destiny as advice on this stuff? Is it just because Destiny has no ability
Destiny
to
has good
arguments?
Advice on it? Because Destiny has good advice on it doesn't mean that de facto he would do better or be a better person to put next to Andrew Tate.
Did you listen to that conversation?
No, but why would that mean that? Well, if I listen to that why would I need to listen to that?
I think if you listen to that conversation, you will come away.
If I listen to that conversation, I will think de facto Destiny would be better than.
You would see that XQC would not select himself as the champion, where you were selecting.
And you would also see that Destiny may not be able to take down Tate, because Destiny said that himself, that it'd be very difficult, that it's very difficult to argue with someone like this. But he recognizes that and understands these are the problem areas that you need to address.
Wait, just because I seek advice from somebody on something, though, doesn't mean that they can do a better job than I can at that thing.
He sought the advice and appreciated the advice and agreed with Destiny about the advice. So it wasn't just that he sought it out.
But that doesn't mean that doesn't speak to his ability. That doesn't speak to his ability to be
simping, Rhyzohm. You're simping.
That's the dumbest shit ever.
No, you're just simping.
If I'm an artist and I'm like, oh, I don't know why my export failed in this way. No, this is really stupid. You guys are just actually being.
You know what it is, Rhyzohm? You're just simping.
I'm going to lay it out. So if I go to somebody, I'm like, I don't know why I'm having this issue with my computer, and they tell me why I'm having that issue. Are they de facto better at solving problems on computers than I am?
if at the end of that conversation you say, thanks, yeah, this was really good advice for fixing my computer. I've learned a lot here. Yeah, they are.
Then they're overall better at fixing.
They're better at
computers.
that issue.
So if
Yes,
later they
which is
come
what
to
we're
me
talking about,
for a separate
specific
issue,
problem.
so if then they come to me later on a separate issue, now I'm the expert, huh? Holy shit, you guys are dumb.
Well, you're just simping, so it's okay.
I feel like, yeah, I mean, that's fine. Is there anything that would change your mind about this? I mean,
That's irrational logic. Show where that's irrational.
Where what's irrational?
Are you talking to chat or are you talking to us?
Show how, if you seek advice from somebody, they are de facto more of an expert in that
Nobody's claiming that.
You are. You're saying they would be better than him. He would be better in the situation.
That is not what I claim.
Because they sought his advice.
If you were aware that he sought out Destiny
I don't even think it's unreasonable.
I was curious to know if you had seen it and watched the video. Because if you had, you would understand that, yeah, Destiny is better equipped on this specific thing in this specific scenario than XQC because XQC agreed with him.
Listen, I don't even think
Sounds
it's
like
unreasonable.
we got a couple of Destiny dick riders in the chat.
Well, we got an
apparently because I haven't seen the video, I don't have a valid opinion.
You know,
There's a scenario in which that would be the case.
Here's an argument, Rhyzohm. You're just a Destiny hater. Can we just like rest the analysis there? Is that your argument? No, you're just a Destiny hater.
I think it comes down to like a subjective thing. The fact of like, oh, you're seeking out advice from this person means this person is better in this field. You didn't even watch the
conversation. You seem to have a lot of opinions about a conversation you didn't watch.
I'm talking about just the formal logic you guys are applying. If I seek out advice from somebody in a field,
I keep saying I am not applying this logic, and you keep saying I am. Do you just think I'm lying?
Your logic. So your logic.
Am I lying? Am I lying?
So say it again. What is your logic then? Because that's the logic WickedSupreme is outlining.
No,
I barely said anything about it.
My logic is if someone doesn't think that they did a good job and seeks out advice from someone else, and at the end of that conversation thinks that that person is providing them with good advice, then one could reasonably infer that that individual might also have a good conversation with that, with that party, Tate in this example. Not that Destiny is necessarily going to be the champion, but that Destiny probably would have had a better conversation based on the conversation that he had with XQC, who agreed with him. That's my point.
Oh, I also disagree with that then. Because if I have a conversation with somebody and it doesn't go well, and then I go to you and I talk to you about the conversation and tell you why it went wrong, and they've seen the conversation and they give me advice that I feel is good, that doesn't mean that it'll be more effective or work on that person. Yeah.
Well, it doesn't necessarily mean that, yes, that is correct. Anything could go wrong in a conversation.
Right. So then I wouldn't
really
just say that based on that. That wouldn't mean
here because of
that's not. I'm just not leaping to the conclusion that Destiny would be.
Assert things that you aren't saying, but
yeah, I'm just not leaping to the conclusion that Destiny would be better.
It doesn't seem like much of a leap.
If XQC thought. Why? XQC knows how Tate would feel in a conversation
and asking for his insight based on his experience and his knowledge. It just doesn't seem like that big of a leap. And then he's sitting around for 2.5 hours of the advice and then thanking Destiny for it and saying that's good advice. I don't know. It's not a leap of faith.
And you keep assuming that that it necessarily follows, and that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying one could reasonably think that it might happen.
Oh, yeah, then I would just say that that's unreasonable, yeah.
Okay. So basically just anything I say, then yeah, that's wrong. Okay.
Well, no, it's more reasonable to assume. It's more reasonable to assume that XQC thought that was good advice. That's it. It doesn't tell you whether or not Destiny might have been better in that conversation with Tate.
What would change your mind?
If Destiny talked to Tate and people like actually thought that Destiny did a really good job of doing it.
What would change your mind in your ability to predict that Destiny would do a better job than XQC?
Have a conversation with somebody who's equivalent, like somebody who's in like that sphere and who's like an MLM
he's done
guru.
A fucking billion of them.
Who?
Oh my! Like over the past, he's talked to like all sorts of these red pill people. I don't know. He has a personal relationship with Abba and Preach. Some of the conversations he's had with Mr. Girl have like sort of bordered on red pill content. He's talked to like all these fucking people over the years. Master Saw, Nick Fuentes. I don't know, all kinds of fucking people, dude.
Yeah, I mean, if you think that's the equivalent, I guess. I see Abba and Preach very differently than I see Andrew Tate, but that might just be me.
Is there anyone similar to Andrew Tate?
That's what Elliot Hulse, Owen Cook, Julian himself. Trying to think of some of the other big names.
Okay, so who's talked to them that you think could do this?
you can't really talk to these guys. You just have to kind of critique them from afar, and usually that's the best way to do it. The most effective media against those people tend to be news interviews where they confront them.
Okay, so it's
with,
impossible
like,
for us to predict anyone that could be good, so we should just throw anybody at the wall and hope someone sticks.
No, I don't think it's
So why shouldn't we throw Destiny at the wall?
Destiny debated fucking Coach Red Pill. That's right. Coach Red Pill, JLP. And it's not even just the Red Pill stuff. It's the fact that what Andrew Tate sells is this like anti-establishment stuff. And that's been his whole fucking like soapbox, Destiny. And
well,
like
he sells an MLM scheme to 150,000
He does a lot of things.
people.
He does a lot of things.
But that's the thing. That's his moneymaker.
No, but the way that he sells his credibility is by like sowing distrust in institutions, which is something that Destiny is like, I think that's like a lot of the debates that he has nowadays. But whatever. You asked for examples. Those are just some examples.
Yeah, okay. Well, you guys think Destiny might do a pretty good job? I think Destiny might not do a better job than XQC has because Destiny would be closer to the Hasan debate bro shit. I feel like we're just talking about really, really subjective shit and trying to act like there's some kind of like rational shit behind it.
Okay, well, I think that Spider-Man could probably do a good job, so people should go download this game before it's too late.
True.
Yeah, that's really equivalent of somebody who's actually spoken to Tate and got like 100 or millions of views on that conversation since. Yeah, nice one, 1-to-1 there.
Listen, guys, I've lost track. We're talking a lot about XQC. All I'm going to say is juices rise up. Have we ended the? Is that it? Is it over? There's some more people here. I'm not bringing Charmhole in, but who's this person? Male Swifty. Did you want to say something?
Yeah. So WickedSupreme, I 100% agree with you that Destiny would be like so much better than XQC or Hasan.
God, what a dick rider.
What? I'm not dick riding.
Go ahead, just tell me.
Dick riding. Okay.
I mean,
I'm having.
Just tell me.
Okay, hang on. So, but like we agree, right, that within the like Red Pill, all that kind of sphere, a lot of the kind of bravado is like, I had to back down from a fight and like all that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the reason I think that Hasan did pretty well is that I think he made him look like what he always criticizes, like people that look like a bitch or like a beta, and he kind of like ran away from the conversation. Would you not agree? Like that, I don't think that he did good in terms of like actually debating any issues, but like making him look like this kind of guy who kind of like shied away from the conversation, looked a bit like a bitch. I think that was what people were like, Hasan kind of like rolled him there.
Here's what I think about that. I think, does there not come a line where somebody is just like irritating enough and boring enough that even the most alpha Chad can try to like brush him off the table and just dismiss him and be like, I don't want to talk to you. Okay, listen, I'm sorry, you're not fun to talk to.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely not going to like disagree that I'm sure there's like a portion of people that are still obviously going to be like, oh yeah, this guy's annoying, like da da da. But do you not think that maybe there was like maybe 20% of people that are like, damn, he looks like a bit like a
that even seems to be. To me, that seemed to be his motivation for like getting him off the call. I don't think it had anything to do with the fact that it made him look stupid. It looked more to do with the fact that Hasan was just fucking long-winded and he was just pontificating endlessly, and like he wasn't even doing a very good job of wrapping up his analysis. And Andrew Tate had responses to all the things that he said. Right? He was like, fucking.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying to you. Like, I'm not. I'm completely 100%. I want Destiny to debate him because I think he would like roll him in a lot more ways.
We don't even need to bring Destiny into this, but sure.
But like, okay, but like, do you not think that at least like making him look a bit silly?
It doesn't look like he ran to me. It just doesn't even look like he ran. Like, by our rules that we live by on Twitch, where we can suffer people being like droning and fucking like insufferable to listen to for a long time, even if you leave in that situation, yeah, by the rules that we live on here on Twitch with this like debate culture, that's how we tend to interpret that thing. But I don't think the average person, I think the average person would listen to Hasan and be like, who the fuck is this guy? Is just he's such a jerk and he's so boring. Like, yeah, get him. I don't even want to listen to this guy.
But that's why I didn't talk about the debate. So I just said in terms of the whole like, I'm alpha, I will fight anyone and won't like run away. I mean, the conversation, like, because like the way I look at it is, if you compare it to the XQC conversation, he talked to XQC for like ages because he constantly looked like probably a lot better in that conversation. Whereas he talks to Hasan for like 10 minutes or whatever, and then as soon as like he was kind of making him look a bit silly, that was when he kind of like shied away from the conversation, like wimped off.
It seems really clear to me that Andrew Tate has a good eye for when something is entertaining, how to make good like content for the normal average person, right? Which is why he kept bringing up, you're not being fun. You're not being fun. This isn't fun. This is like dry. This is boring. XQC is not dry. You can say what you will about his ability to debate, but he's not dry and he's not boring. Even if he's saying things that don't really connect super well, or even if XQC is being long-winded, it's not. It's still fun.
But do you think that like when XQC is absolutely like a more fun, but like when he was debating Andrew Tate, it kind of like felt drier. Like he was just kind of having like a more debate conversation. It didn't feel like he was being like super like entertaining. Like apart from those little times where like he would be like bitch ass, and he'd be like, oh wait, I'm sorry. Like apart from that,
Hasan received in that conversation many times the feedback that he was coming across like with this like nerdy tone, right? And when you listen to it, he just sounds like he's lecturing him the whole time. He didn't budge on that. He didn't accommodate. He didn't like change his tactics at all. And Tate said, you can stay in the call if you're actually going to be willing to, you know, have some fun and chill and, you know, but this nerd shit, we got to cut it out with that. That's literally what he said at the end before he cut him out.
But like, I mean, it kind of felt like, apart from the fact that Hasan was kind of trolling on him, like obviously memeing a lot, like, oh, I really want to hear about your course, like, that was dumb. But like, it kind of felt like he and XQC were kind of pointing out the same kind of flaws in his arguments in the same kind of ways.
Yeah, and XQC was more fun to listen to doing it, and it seems like Andrew Tate identified that XQC was more fun to listen to or more fun to engage with in this way than Hasan was.
Okay, I get over this way. All I'm asking essentially is, do you think there's any utility in the fact that Hasan made him look like a little bit like a beta and a bitch, the things that he constantly like rails about? And
yeah, there's utility for Hasan, like for the audience that he's playing for here on Twitch that already agree to those rules that you can never leave a conversation, no matter how boring or how much time the other person feels like you're wasting of theirs. You still can't leave a conversation, otherwise it's going to be perceived as running away. It's good for Hasan.
I'm not talking about like the Twitch debate sphere. I'm talking like their sphere.
No, I don't think the average person interprets it the way you do. I don't think the average person interprets it as even the alpha is running away from Hasan. No, I think they would probably interpret it the way that it seems Andrew Tate did, which is this person is just boring and wasting my time, and this isn't fun.
No, that's copium. That's copium on their part. They're telling themselves that, but you know.
Yeah, maybe it is.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. I think he made him look a bit silly, and I think I don't know. I thought that seemed to be pretty effective. But
he made him look silly, but the question is to who?
Yes,
for Supreme at least.
Yeah, I like, and I think that's the problem. Is like, well,
I think he made him look silly too. I think Andrew Tate doesn't need help looking silly for a lot of things. Right?
Well, I think he looked the most silly. I think that's the thing. I think he looked the most silly when he talked to Hasan compared to XQC. And I'm even getting a little bit concerned because they've also XQC started talking to him a lot, and I like that because it's providing like a counterbalance. But I'm wondering if he's trying to legitimize like him on the platform in the space.
Okay, I think Hasan did the best job contending with Andrew Tate for somebody like me. Okay, for like interpreted for somebody like me, Hasan did the best job, and Hasan I think even did well for somebody like me.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think I represent like the average person or the people that I'm worried about or the people that I'm concerned about when Andrew Tate is going up against somebody in the marketplace of ideas.
Do you think there was anyone in terms of their sphere that was watching it that thought he looked like, that made Andrew Tate look like silly or weak?
Somebody that would already have been susceptible to Andrew Tate's stuff. I think there maybe could have been a seed of doubt planted, but I don't think it was a stellar performance.
I think it was a stellar performance. All I'm saying is I think there was a seed of doubt like planted. And like at the end of the day, like you're never going to get that much of a seed of doubt because you're always going to have people that are like, I listen to this person and I agree with this person. But at the end of the day, when we have these conversations, we're just looking to create like a bit of a seed of doubt, right?
Sometimes a seed of doubt is all you can ask for, yes, but I don't even think that where a seed of doubt could have been planted, like it would have been present in like a significant group of people. Sure. If you're asking me if there's literally one person that might be stayed from like falling into Andrew Tate's bullshit, sure, maybe. But my read is that it just wasn't very effective, and that it was.
I wouldn't say just one person, but I would say like maybe a handful of people.
Yeah, right? Sure. If there's 5 people, it doesn't matter. Like that's. My analysis is not built out of maybe he reached a handful of people or something. Or if he did reach a handful of people, I think he could have done a lot better. And here are my criticisms for why he didn't do better.
Really important. Do you think he shouldn't have talked to him then? Do you think it would be better if he hadn't? Or do you think he should have done like more prep before he spoke to him? Or I mean, obviously you can always do more prep before you speak to him. But
I think some prep would have been better, but I also think Hasan's style or the way that he approached it was not very good. I think Hasan can do better. I want to make it clear. I think Hasan can do better. I just think
yeah. I will say though, the thing is, like, for somebody
like, I hate Hasan, so just, yeah.
I will just say, for somebody who like didn't know who Tate was, it's probably good to have that conversation with Hasan, because I think to the most normie of normies, Hasan's gonna look good, right? He's gonna. But the problem that I think Supreme is articulating. Okay, well, we can go back and forth on that, but anyways, the problem that I think Hasan had there was that he just kind of kept asserting that experience doesn't derive knowledge, and he didn't do a good job of illustrating that or why that would matter, and he didn't seem to like know how to bridge that gap. He got close when he was like, well, why do you think car insurers give lower rates to men or whatever the fuck, right? But he didn't actually press him on that. He just said that and moved on to why epistemologically, like, they would base their thing on something sound. They would base their rates on something sound and in reality, and he wouldn't be. Yeah. And he just kind of kept asserting that.
But even that argument, like, they didn't even establish what it meant to be better at driving, right? That's why, like, it seems like Andrew Tate, his response to that would just be like, fine, yeah, maybe men get in more accidents, but maybe that's even a demonstration that men are more skillful at driving, and that's what I mean when I say better. We're better at parking, we make better race cars, whatever the fuck. Like,
yeah, I think why people are having the reaction with Hasan, I think I just clicked. I think it's because we have pretty low expectations, and I think most people expected him to completely flop. And I think within Hasan's wheelhouse of what he is capable of, the best thing we probably could have hoped was him making him look a bit silly. And I think because he achieved that, I think people are like, okay, well, I think
that's how I
decent.
felt in the conversation. I was like, oh, rare Hasan W, let's go, dude. You know, but
I think that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. What up, IRI?
What do you think, Supreme?
Fuck Hasan.
Wait, you were saying in chat people were just hating on Hasan. What would you just flip your position?
Yeah, I was dicking around. No, he said capitalism. Like, that's some nerd shit right off the bat. Actually, it's capitalism.
Just fuck. Yeah, that was cringe.
That was fucking nerd shit, dude. He lost right there, and then he went tangential. And he was like, "Well, let's talk about your business model." I got him. Like,
oh,
dude,
yeah, you mean when he was like doing the like, oh, I'm here to learn from you shit at the end?
Yeah. Like, it's so fucking cringe, dude. Like, I'm sorry. Yes, he made that guy look stupid because the guy fumed and was like, "This is boring." Yeah, it looks stupid, but like Hasan didn't look good either. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. I think it just comes to what I said. Like, we had really low expectations for Hasan, and he managed to not completely like screw it up, and he had like some. Yeah,
so listen, depending on how we interpret that, I actually think Hasan made a lot of Tate's audience fucking Hasan proof. Like, I actually think he did so bad at appealing to people in Tate's wheelhouse that they'll never waste their time.
Okay, listen, again. sorry. I feel like we're just missing the 40-40-20 kind of concept, right? Because if you've got someone that's literally worshipping fucking Tate as an idol, right?
And they're looking at worshipping. But go ahead.
Listen, mate, why are you being such a dickhead?
It sounds like you're getting mad. I'll just take this W too.
Oh, come on, mate. Listen, I'm not even that mad. I just think you're a retard. Anyway, listen to me, okay? What I'm trying to say to you is really simple, okay? When I say that, right, you're correcting me. Do you understand what I'm trying to say, though?
Well, you're setting the goalpost that far, and I'm trying to reset it and say, I'm not even taking it that far. It could even just be like normies that are even slightly susceptible to Andrew Tate.
I think you are fucking underestimating normies, right? I think you've got this perception that normies are feels over reals. And I don't necessarily think that's the case. I think that, I mean, obviously it's going to differ person to person, and I don't know how you could even prove any of this. But I think that there is like a sort of at least a minimal level of interest in, you know, data or information, and the fact that women pay lower insurance premiums than men is a well-known fact. Like, this is something that anyone that drives a car will know, and so appealing to that is probably quite a reasonable way to do it.
So it depends. It depends on the audience. When you're talking about normies, so like specifically, I'm talking about the kids that are like fucking dick riding him in these Discord calls. The people that were on top or whatever, like, that's who he's gunning for. You think these people are like curious about fucking
people that idolize him? That's what I fucking said, and you acted like I was being an idiot.
No. I'm talking about just like the character of those people, not those specific individuals. I'm talking about people that are like similar to those people. Like, bro, come on, bro. like fucking, dude bros and shit. Young men that are hungry for sex and success, that are like, you know what I mean, turned on by the ideas of being Scarface or something like that. There's a lot of these kids.
Yeah, but okay, that's not.
There's a lot of
sorry,
people like
you're
that
saying,
even in their 20s.
That's not the only normies that exist. Right,
Yeah.
What were you fucking on about?
Okay, well, now that you know that
Supreme,
those are the people I'm talking about, you can engage with me here.
A lot of people.
So you're not talking about normies, are you? You're fucking full of shit, mate.
Well, I think those people are normies. I don't know what to say.
You're talking about a subsect of a group, and then saying it's the whole group. When I think a lot of people who don't know who Tate was would have heard him say in that conversation, well, every time I had a bad experience with a woman, whenever I was in the car and it was going bad, it was a woman driver. So therefore, I can say that I would never feel comfortable with a woman. I think a lot of people would hear that and then be like, okay, fuck off with that. That's some dumbass logic. And just like Chud, he conferred his personal experience. And I bet a bunch of other people have had a similar personal experience where they're like, yeah, no, I've been most terrified with dudes. And there's a utility in Hasan bringing that moment out to make Tate look dumb to normies at large.
Okay, let me ask you a question. What do you think is the biggest driver of racism?
What? Sorry, what?
What do you think is the biggest driver of racism?
Bias.
How do you think that bias stirs? What do you think is the origin of that bias?
Through our conditioning, like growing up. And
sure, describe conditioning.
Okay, growing up trying to make sense of the world, like having labels and like concepts coming at you from other people that have been in place historically that you're learning to apply to yourself and your peers and things like that.
Mm-hmm. So the way that you're like interfacing with the world. Let me ask you this. Because I actually just think the number one reason that people are racist is because they have a negative experience with somebody from the opposite race. And it only takes one. And like that sort of, it's their personal experience. It's the way that Andrew Tate like describes his personal experience is how a lot of people come to their biases and interpret the world. This has been my experience. Like, I don't even think they intellectualize it, right? Like, I literally just think it's completely mechanical on their part. They see on the news lots of black people committing crime, and they're like, I don't know about those black people. And then when it happens to them, they're like, yep, I had a feeling that this was the case. I knew it, right?
Wait, do you think I'm saying normies don't operate off of bias?
Chud Logic was. And actually, I think, did you not say that when you said you're underestimating? No, Chud Logic said you're underestimating.
Normies operate off of bias, I think, until they hear a better argument. And when Tate makes a dumbass point, like every time I've gotten in a car and had a bad experience, it was with a woman. So therefore, I would never trust a woman driver. I think a lot of people can hear that as irrational.
Yeah, I think a lot of people can, but I don't think those people would have been susceptible to Andrew Tate in the first place.
Well,
see, this is the thing. That's the thing. You're kind of like cherry picking for people who would have been susceptible to him. My point was just people who never heard
because
him.
When you have a debate with somebody, you want to be able to make sure that they're not able to pull the wool over a collection of people's eyes. So those are the people I'm worried about.
The thing is, you're conflating normies with Andrew Tate susceptible people.
I think the average normie is closer to somebody who's susceptible to Andrew Tate than they've got to be men, of course, too. I don't think very many women are going to be compelled by Andrew Tate. Of course, I'm talking about like a selection of people.
When we're talking about like experiences or types of people that are swayed by racism or sexism, obviously the first type is going to be people that have had a direct bad experience with that type, and then that persuades them some way. Then it's going to be people around them that maybe say things and maybe they just get swayed by those things. And then it'll be these people, which is like this new thing that we've have, like of the radical being radicalized over the internet. And then maybe you have a fourth type, which is kind of in the middle. And I think my question to you, Supreme, is like, do you think there's people in the middle that don't really fall into any of those camps that were watching, kind of just checking out on XQC stream or Hasan stream or other people's streams or whatever, and maybe were like a little bit more to like Andrew Tate's kind of side of things? And do you think that Hasan maybe made them feel a bit differently because of his weight, like making him look silly?
I don't think the average like normie thinks very hard about these things, and I don't think Hasan did a very good job of intellectualizing or laying out in like a rhetorically sound or convincing or compelling way to somebody who doesn't think about these things often in such a way that he would persuade them. And I think he just probably came off as just like really boring to those people.
Right.
Like,
I don't disagree.
Okay. What about Paul Walker? What about Paul Walker? Let's talk about Paul Walker, shall we, right? Let's talk about Paul Walker for a second, right? Because I think you're fucking totally wrong on this. It is such a common thing in society that men are reckless, dangerous drivers. You know, Paul Walker fucking smashes his vehicle into a thing at 170 miles an hour, right? You know, not only is he dead, but also Fast and the Furious is ruined. I'm not sure which is worse. You know, so I feel like, you know, you're missing that it's a big meme that men are reckless, dangerous drivers. And I think that this is a normie position. I mean, I think like hardcore red pill people will probably disagree, but I think broadly normies would probably you know assign with the idea, oh yeah, guys are kind of, you know, reckless when they drive, you know.
And that's something that Hasan failed to do, right? He needed to appeal to that type of argumentation, and he never did it. The whole point is you need to appeal to non-empirical evidence. Like, hey, don't you see all these assholes driving around? They can't drive, like the story you told earlier about being afraid every time you get into that bro's car because you think you're going to die. Everybody does have that experience. So you need to point to that personal experience.
Okay.
I don't disagree, but what I would just quickly say is that the argument Hasan was engaging in got Tate to look stupid in the sense that Tate said stupid shit. Like, and Hasan could have nailed the point home and then pointed out why the shit that he said was stupid.
He said stupid shit to you, like as interpreted by you and me. I agree. And maybe even, like, I don't think anybody who would have interpreted what Tate said as stupid would ever have been susceptible to, like, to his whole product.
Wait, Supreme,
so you're just saying that, like, there's no concern there at all. Like, it doesn't matter if he, like, even is shown in a bad light, as long as the people who were susceptible are still susceptible.
Yes.
Because the people who
That's typically why we care about influence, right?
But yeah, I guess if the clip of him saying something like, every time I get in a car with a woman, it's a bad experience, so I never trust women. I think, like, Hasan is necessary in that equation to get that clip. Otherwise, it's all just PR farming for him.
Yeah, but for the benefit of who, right?
For the benefit of somebody who might have encountered one of his PR pieces.
It's not like that shit's a secret. It's not like he got that out of Andrew Tate. The reason even Hasan brought it up is because Andrew Tate blares that shit out like a foghorn. It's not a dog whistle, right? Like when XQC said he was dog whistling to misogynists, it's not a dog whistle. It's a fucking air horn. Brrr! He fucking goes on every radio and says that shit. I think women are.
I guess I'm just saying. I'm not saying Hasan. Okay. I'm not saying Hasan's our guy.
I don't think Hasan is like getting this out of Andrew Tate.
No. I'm saying someone making the argument about not basing your experience, your knowledge and experience alone, can get him to farm clips like that. Not just Hasan, but I think there is a utility to that, to having clips out there that show him in a negative way, or that for people who are rational in that way are going to look at him negatively and they'll be like,
but they were always going to, whether it was Andrew Tate on the radio for a puff piece or something like that, like they were going to hear Andrew Tate say that anyway and be turned off. Like Hasan is not a variable that's worth concerning ourselves with.
Would he? I wonder. Okay, yeah, I guess I just don't think he would say shit that stupid if he had.
He does. That's the reason Hasan knew about it. Hasan didn't do any research. That's the reason XQC knew about it, is because Andrew Tate goes on shows and just says this shit.
Supreme, you said earlier that normies like don't really care about argumentation, like they're not really going to care about all of the ins and outs and all that shit. So I agree with you.
I didn't say that.
I thought you just said I thought you said like 10 minutes ago that normies.
I think there's a way to go about it. I just don't. No, my big criticism has always been that Hasan failed rhetorically.
But
so far as
so you think normies are going to like understand and like follow and go through all of the argumentation and get all that?
I think there's a lot of like, if you wanted to make the argument that Hasan made, I think there's a lot of simple analogies you can make, or like simple sort of dialogue paths that you can go down to help illustrate this for people in a way that'll click with more people than Hasan did it.
Yeah, 100%. As I said, Hasan absolutely could have done better. I was watching it and I was like, this is like the easiest thing right now that could completely dismantle his argument. And I don't debate that much, but
or even to just like be able to offer something that offers heuristics or examples in people's daily lives that they can connect with and make sense, instead of just, like saying the data, you have to go towards the data.
Do you not think like normies in the middle though generally are just going to look at like, because they're not really going to follow or understand all of the argumentation or like all the debate shit that we know.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, aren't they just going to view it through like who looked like an alpha and who didn't?
Well, I just want to make it clear. You just offer an example that illustrates the pitfalls of that logic. Which
I said Hasan can always do better. I've never ever said he shouldn't.
No, it's not that he couldn't do. He
should have done better.
I think Supreme's issue is he didn't do that at all. Like he just kind of kept asserting something about the way that we derive knowledge from experience that for most people just went right over their heads. And then Tate responded in the way that he did, and everybody got bored because Hasan just kept doing the same thing, right?
The thing is,
there was
I have lots of criticisms with Hasan's performance. I'm not.
The thing is, facts over feeling. It's not as simple as facts over feeling. In order for facts over feeling to be effective, both sides have to agree on what the facts are, and that was like Tate just rejected the facts, right? He already sort of cut that cord off.
They have to have a foundational understanding of how you even come to know facts, and that's where the gap is. It's so far back from this, and that's something I think we're missing, or I think we're missing, and I think Supreme is coming at it from a similar angle as me. Is there's a whole set of people that fall into this trap for Tate, and those are the people that are not going to listen to these empirical arguments. They don't care. They not only don't care, they actively reject it as something that's bad because they think that it's, nerds or whatever. Yeah.
Do you think that if Hasan had taken a different approach, then do you think that Tate would have stayed talking for longer?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think so. I think if he tried to meet him at his level and accept his worldview as at least valid, and so within its own context. If he was more fun
too.
Yeah.
Tate stated that expressly before he got kicked, before Hasan got kicked.
What about being more fun, or?
Yeah, he said if you can engage in this conversation without doing the nerdy shit and you're more fun, then you can stay. I'm down to talk. Mm-hmm. But the issue is that you keep saying the same thing and everybody's telling you is saying kick you. He said that 2 or 3 times, so I don't think that that's just like a convenient shield. And
I wish Hasan called him out with that chat comment because it was so dumb. Like, that was the one thing I was like, Hasan, you literally have to say, of course, if I poll my chat, everyone's going to say that I'm not boring and I should stay. And then if everyone polls your chat, probably they're going to ask to kick me. Like, that was the easiest, dunk he could have had.
Yeah, but that doesn't help him continue the conversation. He would still be.
Well, it wasn't his own chat. It wasn't Tate's own. Tate doesn't even have a stream yet.
It was that dude who was hosting Clicks, right?
Or Aiden Ross or whatever.
Yeah.
You as a debater want to have, or you as somebody who's trying to make this dude look stupid, want to have more time. So there does have to be some kind of concession if they're being that explicit with it too.
Yeah, well, I think at that point, though, as you say, I think Hasan was already going to get kicked, so I think just pointing that chat thing out would have been an easy, quick thing.
Well, he escalated after. So the moment that Tate took off his headphones, he saw that he was winning, and so he escalated and went in for the W. And that's fine if you're just trying to win against, the people that take those types of arguments. But he should have de-escalated if he wanted to continue it.
Yeah, for sure. I obviously had big criticisms, but I don't know. I think for what we can expect from Hasan, he did okay, I guess.
Listen, I think he did a good, in terms of how I perceive him, he came out looking good. And if Hasan's goal was to win over Destiny audiences and these types of audiences, then he won for sure. But I feel like the goal should be to try to get people out of listening to Tate.
Yes.
Yeah. It was a rare
Hasan
W.
That is exactly
but
my
it wasn't
position.
universal. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's up, fellas? 1 second, let me stream.
I just wanted to bring you on. You said you had a take about the driving thing, and we're kind of talking about it a bit.
Yeah, so the meme you guys talk about where it's that one mate where you get in this car, he drives really, really fast, and people get scared. So listen, 1, I am that guy. 2, every time you're with that guy, you've never crashed, right? But I know all of you have had a personal experience where you're with a woman and she is scared of driving, or she is really hunched up and being weird about it, and it freaks you out. Yes?
Wait, how do you know we've all had that experience?
Because I know that I assume you've all talked to women.
I don't hang out with women. I avoid them.
This is fine.
I've never had
this
friend,
experience.
So no.
Listen,
I've had it with my grandmother and my brother.
Yeah, probably an old woman, older person. I think the thing should just be old people in general.
No, stop.
My bias towards don't get
forever.
That.
I have had this experience, with driving with women in the city, and they're overwhelmed or whatever the fuck, right?
Yeah,
I have had this experience. But guess what?
Yeah, women get so overwhelmed, bro.
My worst experience has been with a man.
Yes.
I'm saying I've had this experience. Do you just doubt that I've had this experience, Rhyzohm?
No, I just know where forever is gonna go with this. It's gonna go women's brains. They just can't handle it. All right, yeah.
Okay, so I have had this experience, but I'll tell you from my perspective, I have some experience racing. Okay, I've done a couple seasons of SCCA,
cool.
Racing, rallycross, autocross, and road rally, shit like that, right?
Hell yeah.
In my experience, if somebody is afraid of what's happening around them in a driving situation, or at least are paying the respect that dangerous things are happening around them, I feel safer in that situation than somebody who doesn't have any experience racing, thinking that they're a race car driver and wanting to drive aggressively on the road. Personally,
Yep. Same.
I see
feel
you're
a lot
saying.
safer. with somebody who respects the road in front of them.
I don't frame it as respecting the road. I frame it as they're just scared and they're going to overcorrect and overreact. So that to me feels way more dangerous.
If their version of overcorrecting or overreacting is slowing down or stopping, I still prefer that.
Yeah, like slamming on the fucking brakes and like hunched up to the steering wheel.
100%. I would prefer that.
Seat not adjusted right. The mirrors are all fucked up. Okay.
Well, if they slam on the brakes, why would that fuck up the mirror?
No, I was like, is a comma between everything. Those are all the things they're doing all goofy when they drive and they're really scared.
Yeah, but
I had a man drive me for work and I was scared. I hated it. He was like driving like a maniac. I would prefer
driving with a timid driver than an aggressive driver in 10 out of 10 situations.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, in my experience, driving with aggressive drivers can be scary, but they're fun and you survive. Driving with a very scared and timid driver, you holding on to that little handle in the top right corner because they're not comfortable and they're the one driving the fucking car.
Most car accidents happen at a slow speed in a situation where people are being cautious. You're correct.
Dude, you are such a soy fuck. You are so horny just to be.
That is literally just empirical shit, dude. That is literally just empirical shit, dude.
It's empirical, yeah. Okay.
It is. Car crashes tend to happen when people are not being careful. Wow.
Well, my thing isn't empirical. It's just like you've been in a car with a woman and she's fucking freaking the fuck out and it's freaking you out because she's not confident in driving. We've all had experiences.
Are you having a different?
I don't think I'm about to die in that situation.
Wait, okay, so wait, I want to drill Rhyzohm on this. So have you you've had the situation happen to you before at least once, right? You know,
imagine with like an older person. I don't know in like the last like 20 years when I've had that experience. When I was a kid, maybe I'll give you it.
Okay, then you must not get any pussy. So
well, hang on. Stop. Listen, we can compare personal experiences here. Okay. In my experience, I've driven with timid drivers. They have erred on the side of caution and it has resulted in no accidents. In my experience, I told you I've got some racing experience. I've had a lot of friends that were also, like race car drivers and shit like that. And there have been a lot of experiences, even stemming from high school, of men thinking that they were skillful drivers and trying to do skillful things that end up killing themselves and all their friends or other people and other people's friends and families. And some of those people have been children. I've seen a fucking child's face hanging, like their head disconnected from their jaw because somebody thought that they were doing something skillful.
That's pretty fucked up.
Sure. How do you expect me to interpret?
So yeah, I can. What you're saying makes sense, and logically, it follows. But if I had a gun to my head, if we were to talk to the average guy, I think the average guy is going to have my opinion on it, right? Even if you're like, oh, but what about the data? Like, they're like, okay, the data, I don't give a shit. I've driven with like my wife or my daughter. They're fucking.
Listen, guys, sorry, I've got to do this meme because it's come to head, okay? So, you know, woman crashes a car. Woman crashes a car. Man crashes a car.
To go, right? So if the question is, do I want to ride with a timid driver or an aggressive driver? Well, it depends on what my goal is. My goal is to ride safely, probably a timid driver. But if my goal is to get from point A to point B fast, then yeah, it's going to be the aggressive driver. And I'm an aggressive driver, and so that's my bias, right? So of course, these types of people are going to have that bias and have that preference. But that's separate from whether or not one party is a safer driver or a better driver than the other. Now, the safer versus better, that could be two different arguments too. But
right.
Sure, you're saying is completely valid. All I'm saying is if you ask your brothers, ask your dads, your grandpas, your male friends what they think, and don't ask them in a setting where they have to be swayed the fuck out. Ask them their honest opinion. I would bet most of them would agree with me. And
I mean, yeah, but some of these people would probably think that COVID vaccine's got 5G in it. Like, I'm sorry, I don't give a shit what retards think. I don't fucking care. Listen, they're probably going to be
threshold.
You're literally just saying my bias tells me most people who share my bias would agree with me. Very good.
I'm surprised if there's some people who just say that women are bad drivers because there's a lot of other men that say women are bad drivers, not even because they've actually even had like a bad.
That's probably true too. But
fuck that shit.
I try to see what you're saying. Like, there's a certain point you become once you start believing in that shit, you become like a COVID freak. Sure, I agree with that. But I think if you ask the men in your life, like, you know, what you get, have you had a bad experience with a woman driver? Oh yeah, I've had quite a few. They're kind of annoying. I think a lot of guys would agree with that. And then if that's true, which if you don't agree, whatever, then this whole argument falls apart. But if that's true, Andrew Tate is going to appeal more to them, right? XQC with his like French gibberish garbage is not going to debate him on it.
Yeah. Which is why we need to have the be willing to have the conversation at that level, because I think that you're not wrong in the assertion of what, you know, your average aggressive driver is going to side with, right, for that bias, and that's fine. Right. We can talk through that, and that's what, again, Hasan kind of failed to do.
Yeah, I mean,
we have covered this earth in asphalt and we think it's normal. We have mechanical mech suits we enter into.
Charmhole has started us, so I guess we've reached the end of the conversation.
Whoa, no. First off, no, I got every point, and I will touch on every single point that y'all have made because I'm smarter and I'm a gamer and I'm better than you. Also, hi, Rhyzohm.
Sorry, Charmhole. Sorry, mate. I'm sorry. He's ruined the convo.
Haggard, dude.
He's literally come in and just ruined the conversation. Like, what's the point?
Yeah,
I thought I'd give him a chance.
He come in here?
And he starts talking about asphalt.
I feel like anytime he jumps into one of the panels, that's when you know it's over. It's done. We've hashed it all
listen,
out.
I feel like we are having a good conversation here, and I just want to see if Charmel could be serious, and he can't. So, I don't want to ruin my own
You still
content.
trust him? Wow, man. God damn.
Is there anybody that disagrees with me about anything? That's all I care about. I'm only going to stay in here about anything.
I think maybe you could give Hasan a little bit more credit, but in general, I probably agree with most of what you're saying.
Okay. What type of credit do you think I should give him?
Just what I said, just like that. I think there was some utility in making him look silly, and I think there's probably a subset of people in the middle that probably care about that stuff. And like I said, I don't think normies are probably going to understand all of our debate argumentation and all that shit. And at the end of the day, it's just who kind of looked good and who didn't and look silly.
My answer to that is I don't think Hasan made Andrew Tate say anything that Andrew Tate wouldn't have volunteered on his own proudly and confidently.
I'm just talking about how he emotionally looked at the end. He was kind of irritable,
yeah, but
he
that
just looked weak. I don't know.
To me,
I think
people that value empiricism, but he looked strong to people that are already on his side that don't value those things. He was being dismissive. He was playing it up for them. That's not it's a completely different audience.
What Supreme is saying is that conversation didn't have to happen for somebody to encounter Tate's material, which apparently he says the same kind of dumbass shit in regardless of whether he's in a debate. So what value add did Hasan bring to it?
Yeah, that's
I don't know, maybe I'm looking silly to a whole lot of people, I guess I would say. But I don't probably disagree that much, yeah.
Yeah, he looked silly to the people he would always look silly to, though.
Yes.
Well, you know how you counter the Tate driving thing? You bring up the example that Destiny and Chud bring up, your crazy friend who drives really fast. Right? That's an experience a lot of people can relate to. And that's how you shut down Andrew Tate without bringing up studies. And XQC didn't do it.
Exactly.
Hasan didn't do it. Who did? Destiny.
Yeah.
Who could, I guess, but he hasn't. I'm sure he could.
Well, he hasn't had the chance.
Does Tate do YouTube at all? Does he do any YouTube or not people at all?
Oh yeah, he's a YouTuber originally.
But does he do live stream stuff? Because then Destiny
I think he's got a bunch of kind of unofficial channels that clip him. He has a bunch of privately owned websites and programs and things like that, podcasts that people will clip from and upload to. I haven't really found his official YouTube channel, at least by my knowledge.
I hope he doesn't make a Twitch channel, but I'm sure it's going to happen.
They have one that they did a podcast from. It's called Tate something. I'll find it for people who are curious.
Because I know I was watching XQC last night. I think Aiden Ross is going to help him set up a Twitch channel, and I'm like, oh god.
No, he's got one. He and his brother already streamed a podcast to it where they did a debrief about the XQC situation.
Because I don't know if it was memeing, but he was like, I'm going to stop playing video games and be twitching and shit. And I'm like,
it's called, all right, for anyone who wants to see it, it's called Tate Speech. No spaces, no underscores, no nothing. Tate Speech, Tate Speech.
Okay, I think I do have beef with Chud Logic. I think me and Chud Logic got to argue more.
What do you want to argue about?
I'm just looking at this line of chat here. It says, guys, people feel strongly that ivermectin works. Don't mention the data or you will look like a nerd.
What are you reading chat, bro? What are you doing? You're supposed to be talking to me.
Well, nobody disagrees with anything, so I have no reason to be... Well, that's what you said in chat.
Yeah, I know, but that's in chat, isn't it? Not in this conversation.
Okay, well, do you believe... Do you agree with that sentiment?
Hey, what do you mean? Well, no, obviously not.
Do you think that I'm making the point that you should never appeal to data or expertise or something like that to somebody?
Yeah. I think what you're saying, if someone believes that sticking a pineapple in their ass will cure COVID, you should not ever, contest with that.
Well, no. Listen,
do you even right now, or do you really think that I believe?
They won't believe studies if they're that far gone. You have to go emotion with it.
Let me handle this, okay?
No, listen, Supreme. Listen, obviously, I'm being hyperbolic. I just think it's funny. And the fact that you saw it and it annoyed you has made it even better, to be honest. So I'm glad
it does fucking annoy me because I don't want people agreeing to that sentiment and thinking that the answer to people who don't believe a thing is to just shout statistics at them.
Well, I mean, I don't know what statistics you shout about ivermectin, but like, okay, actually, I wanted to ask you this, right? So let's say that Andrew Tate had gone more down the line with like COVID, and he'd started spouting misinformation about COVID. What do you think the best way to deal with that would be?
Okay. The best way to deal with that is I think there's a lot of ways to go. I think there's a lot of implications. If you think that there's a conspiracy behind the COVID vaccine, you have to buy into a lot of shit. And I think there's like a slow and methodical way to bear that out and get somebody to have to marry themselves to a global
Wait
conspiracy.
a second. You said slow was bad earlier, so it can't be slow. It's got to be quick.
Huh? Speaking slowly can be bad. It doesn't necessarily mean that the approach can't be slow or that it can't be methodical.
Okay, goalpost moved. Go on, continue.
Okay. Fucking so like in order to believe it would be a matter of like walking somebody down the line of argumentation where if they believe that like there's a COVID vaccine conspiracy, that there's got to be a global conspiracy and a shadowy cabal of people, you've got to get somebody to marry themselves to an Illuminati conspiracy, and then there's a bunch of conversations you can have about that.
In my opinion, you remind them that Trump is the one who gave us the vaccine the fastest, so that's why the vaccine's based, and that works.
Yeah, but then he might just say that he was compromised and like that was an example.
He's controlled by Jews. He's controlled by Jews in that, isn't he?
They might, but Trump will get your foot in the door, in my opinion.
That's true. Yeah, that's a decent argument. But even then, all you have to do is just mention, well, hang on, there's all these doctors from all these competing entities around the world, all these competing nations, doctors in Iran, doctors in Russia, doctors in China, and doctors in the United States, all coming together and saying that this is a valuable thing. What's your explanation for that?
Oh, Supreme question. Have you talked to like a COVID freak in real life before?
I feel like I have, but maybe, yeah, I don't know. Just lay it on me. What do you got?
I feel like we probably all have, but maybe not debating them or anything.
I
like
have
that.
debated a friend of mine who's like a full-on, like full-on.
Wait, yeah, I definitely have. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Full on.
I mean, yeah. In my opinion, the best way to reach these people is just like emotion and empathy. You got to get to know them, see what they like, and do the things they do, and so like basically become their friend, and then just like get to the core what they believe what they do. And I understand your argument; it's consistent, but like trying to poke holes into like inconsistencies in their logic just shuts them off. You got to just like meet them where they are and then go from there.
Well, it depends.
It depends how far the rabbit hole goes, though. Because I have a friend of mine, and like, but he doesn't just go. Like I've tried debating him, but like he's not even just like anti like COVID. He's like he's kind of like a Tate person who believes like everything is like corrupt and do it. It's like at that point, it's like I don't even know like how to even penetrate that because it's just.
I mean,
so
I agree with Forever on this one.
I don't even know.
I think Forever's right on this one because I think like if somebody comes at you and is like, listen, every time I'm in a car with a woman, it's scary. I think you don't go, dude, what do you mean? Every time I get into a car with a guy, it's scary. I think what you do is just you go like, yeah, I mean, if that's your experience, for me, when I get in the car with a lot of dudes, they'll like speed and shit. But
yeah. That's fair.
Okay, so I wasn't giving you a demonstration of how the conversation would go. You asked from like I was giving you a summary of like where I would try to go with that conversation. I agree with you in general. A big part of like changing hearts and minds is that you have to first like build a relationship, build some trust with that person, be able to identify that we have some like things in common in our life experience or whatever the fuck. We can shake hands on a bunch of things, right? So that we're like friends and that you trust me and that you trust what the things that I say are true and vice versa. And I can relate to your experiences and agree that they're not like otherworldly and that you're not a fucking idiot for like perceiving the things that you perceive, of course.
Agree with all that.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, the guy who said they're friends a COVID freak, you said you have nothing to try anymore? What do you guys still have in common?
I've tried a few times, but like the problem is like he believes every conspiracy theory under the sun, and I just don't know how to.
What do you have in common with him? Is there anything left, like games or kind of hobby?
Yeah, we like movies and we like do acting stuff and stuff like that.
Okay. I think what you could try is like if there's one conspiracy that's like harmful, you could like humor him and be like, wait, I've heard of that before. Tell me about that one. And then you can build a rapport from there. And then from then on, he won't think you're attacking him every time. You're just asking about the actual conspiracy. Then you can weave in like, wait, I thought you said this. Is that true? And then from there, you know what I mean?
I've really tried, and I've tried to be like super chill, and I've tried like all of the like instead of being like, oh, you're wrong here, just like, ask questions, and like I've tried all the different ways, but like he is, I don't know, he feels really far gone. I don't know. Yeah, I just don't know if there's much utility in even trying anymore. But
what's your favorite conspiracy of his?
What's his favorite conspiracy theory?
What's your favorite conspiracy from him?
I hate all of them because I think they're all like completely not true.
What's the most wild?
What's the most wild one? Oh, he believes that like he believes in all the pyramid shit, like there were aliens before us.
Oh, that's sick. That one's fun. You can start from there.
It's just so dumb that I can't do it.
That one's fun because, like, on the one hand, it's like really difficult to try to tackle that. You've got to get him to trust the deference of all these historians and like old fucking dead people and shit. But also, there's not really a lot of harm in a person believing that. So it's.
Yeah, but I think the problem is that that leads on to other conspiracy theories.
Yes.
And that's the problem. Because it's like, well, if I kind of legitimize that one, it's like, oh, well, I'm legitimizing these other ones too.
Well,
I think the best thing that you can do in general is just tell people like what your side is, rather than like trying to tell them why their side might not hold water. You know what I mean?
So it's like you try everything. It's like, oh well, like what do you mean? Like we have all these history stuff. It's like,
they're not
what do you mean?
necessarily gonna like.
It's like, it just goes on forever.
Yeah, they're not necessarily gonna come to your side, but that's the best you can do. Is just like try to be like, oh wow, I mean, I see it a little bit differently. Here's how I see it. Try to talk to them on that level, I guess. You know. I feel like that's just more appealing to people in general, because in terms of conversation, most people aren't looking to have their views challenged. They're just like looking to unwind or whatever the fuck.
But then, like, what? Like, if there's no like way I can possibly even like move their mind a little bit, then we might as well just talk about other stuff, right? Like.
Oh, you don't know that there's no possible way, though, I guess, you know? It's just you can always advocate for what your mind is. When they're like, yeah, I believe in the pyramids, you could just be like, yeah, man, I mean, you know I don't agree with you on that stuff, you know? Like, it doesn't have to necessarily be like, all right, let me hear your arguments and tell you why you're wrong, and then tell you how this epistemologically links up to Q and all this other shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe, yeah, I don't know. I try and avoid those conversations because I get super frustrated.
Well, it sounds like you think he's retarded or something, right? I think if that's true, he can sense that. So the whole conversation will never work because he's on guard. Because he thinks that you think he's retarded.
Well, I wonder if you agree or disagree with this. Do you feel like there's some people who are like smart with some things and then really dumb with other things?
Cool. Yeah, it's everybody.
Yeah, that's kind of like, that's kind of how I feel. Like, I feel whenever we're not talking about conspiracy theories, I think he's pretty like level-headed and like smart about stuff. But whenever we go to that kind of stuff, he just his brain just switches off. So yeah, I don't know what to do from there. I tried to like understand.
Okay, listen, I'm going to be honest with you. All this shit you're saying, chat, don't give a fuck about it. So stop talking about it. You're boring. Okay, please. No one fucking cares, bro. Who fucking asked? Can we talk about something else? Jesus Christ.
Yeah. I think some of this is interesting because the whole point you brought me in here was to talk about like why somebody was or wasn't effective when it came to convincing a group of people, and we're now like having a discussion about.
Who fucking cares though? Listen, let's talk about Andrew Tate being a Andrew Tate being a
I want to Andrew Tate, him like getting that girl to kiss that guy was like fucking.
That whole section. You know what? You know what? Like XQC brings it up later, and he says, "I wasn't talking about me." When he says the thing about like if you want a real man, he says, "Oh, I wasn't talking about me. I said I know a guy, right?" It's like, come on, like, okay.
Well, and then in the clip later, he doesn't just say, "Well, I've got someone for you at 18." Yeah, he says, "I'll steal your bitch on stream right now." You know, like implying it is him, dude. That shit was
like
so crazy.
If there was any departure from his like alpha male Giga Chad shit, it was cowering away from owning like the fact that was the implication. I think.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now that we all agree, I can leave.
Okay. Listen, thanks for coming on, guys. Appreciate you all. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna bounce.
Made the conversation go weird.
No, don't worry about it. It's all good. Cheers. Right. Bye bye.
It was a good to talk to you and meet you all. Bye.
You too. Cheers. Bye. Listen, I'm just a bit blunt sometimes, okay? If I'm very content brained, no hard feelings. But if I can see, it's just to be honest with you, I wasn't really paying attention, and then people in my chat, were going like, oh, this is boring. I noticed it, and I listened, and I was like, yeah, this is fucking sucks. Like, bro, I don't give a shit about your friend. Can we talk about something fucking interesting? Anyway, I feel bad now because you sounded really apologetic. Anyway, listen. So yeah, sure. Well, I still don't really agree with the sentiment of Supreme's tweet.